Here we go. This is episode 86. Episode 86 of NoLaughTrack, Acme Comedy Company's official podcast. Thank you to Circle of Heat for that music we were just listening to. They were jamming out to. It kind of sets the mood here to get the podcast going. Like us on Facebook if you haven't done that yet. Follow us on Twitter. It's at NoLaughTrack. I'm at St. Paul Rock City, STPAUL. And it's just started doing a new thing. I'm posting the episodes on YouTube. So if for some reason you want to watch a still picture of the logo and listen to the show, by all means, please do so. You can search them by the guest, by NoLaughTrack, Acme, all that good stuff. Got a whole channel there that we're loading them day by day here. In any case, enough babbling. Let's get the guest involved here. David Crow.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, you're back from, I'm sure you remember episode number that you were here the first time.
37.
Not pretty close.
27.
Higher.
It would have been
higher.
50 episodes ago, right?
Yeah, 50 was episode 31.
31.
Yeah.
That was pretty close.
You were pretty close.
What does 31 mean to you? Any significance?
Normally when if someone would ask me something like that, I would give it like a connection to a baseball player or football player's uniform number. 31. I got nothing.
Yeah, me neither. 31 doesn't really.
Oh, I take it back. 31 is my sister's birthday. January 31st. I'll go with that.
Okay.
Other than that, nothing.
To me, it means ice cream.
Ah, of course.
31 flavors.
Yes, and then some.
Yeah, I know. And it's you never want to name a restaurant that you or anything that you hope to get really successful with a specific number, like Motel 6, because they used to charge $6.
Is that the history of that?
Yeah. $6 a night, and then wow, inflation.
And now it's what, 66?
Yes,
106?
62.50. Yeah, Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors of ice cream. Wow, we have more. Should we change the name? No, we'll just 31 will be meaningless from here on out.
Yeah. Yes, it's Motel 6 plus tax.
Right.
Did they? Small print. So welcome back to town.
Thank you.
How long have you been in town now?
I flew in on Monday.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I knew that. I heard a little ran into a friend of yours on Monday night when you were here. Bent? Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us everybody about that.
Oh, well, Bent I think he was just coming through town to go up to Grand Forks and Fargo or something, but he happened to be in town. And last April, I directed Bent's DVD.
Yeah.
Which I am still in the process of editing.
Oh no!
But I did pick up a new computer now, so I will finish it very shortly. I feel bad it's taken so long, but
that's right. Last time I saw you, you were hanging out here with the cameras.
Yeah.
Bent.
It's something I've always done my whole career, and I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna just learn to do this instead of feel like an outsider, feel like a hobbyist, and. I went back to film school, and that was completely unnecessary.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it just recently?
Last winter.
That's when you did the film school?
Yeah.
Oh, no kidding.
Started. It's a long process.
Yeah.
What I found out is when you work in entertainment and you have an interest in the broadcast side of it, you'll learn a lot more
hands-on
than you give yourself credit for.
I bet.
And I decided not to carry on in film school, one, because the scope of what I want to do with it is limited, but also the senior project was something I'd already done.
Oh, no.
So,
yeah.
So I thought, okay. And the other thing you run into, I mean, I'm in my 40s, is I'm never going to become an expert at, say, After Effects or light design or things like that. I mean, the truth is, if I ever get to the point where I need to have that done well, I'm going to hire somebody who's dedicated their life to it.
Right.
So anyway, I just quit school and went and started continuing to do projects, but with more of a sense of, hey, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, you were telling me when you were here, episode 31.
Yeah.
That you would purchase some fancy new cameras, or at least one. Got some other ones. Have you added to the collection?
I have 3. You really can't shoot much live with less than 3, because you have the one, and then if that one drops out, you have the other, and if those two, you need a third just to cover the other two, just in case.
Sure. So did you, when you were here Monday, did you get up on stage or?
No. I just came in and had dinner, chatted with Bent.
Nice.
Yeah.
But he did some open mic.
He did.
Yeah.
Right. I came in and he was doing a bit about abortion.
Oh.
And I sat for 2 minutes. And this is a new chapter in my comedy career, having done it for 20-some years now. I just thought, I do not need to hear anything else about abortion. I'm going to go have dinner.
Oh.
It didn't matter how funny it was or how witty or I just thought, I've heard enough abortion bits in my day. That's what I love about someone like Jake Johansson is for an hour, he talks about things you've never heard of or thought about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jake's fantastic. He was on the podcast here a few months back.
Was he?
Yeah. He was great.
You should just let him talk for hours.
Yeah. It's hard to fathom sitting across from someone like him who's been, like I'm sitting there, just me,
right?
This guy that's been on Letterman 40-some times.
Yeah.
It's pretty remarkable.
Well, I'll make up for it. I've been on Letterman 0 times.
Me too.
Right.
We have that in common.
In fact, the other day, I guess it was Sunday, it was the 50th anniversary of the Beatles being on the Ed Sullivan Show, which is the Letterman
correct.
Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized I had never actually seen the full set the Beatles did on Ed Sullivan. I'd seen clips of it, of course, on the news, but my whole life I'd never seen the actual set. And
it's normally just the introduction. Beatles!
The Beatles!
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah.
And so I went on YouTube and I watched the whole set, and it was, I don't know why it took me so long. It's very revealing.
I have to admit, I'm
Yeah.
a huge Beatles fan, and I've never watched the whole thing either.
It's completely out of context now. We can't imagine what the country was like back then.
No.
Where that made such an enormous splash.
Yeah.
Because it's 4 young guys playing guitar and singing songs. Mm-hmm. But for some reason,
Seen it before.
it changed the world.
Sure did. Do you have a favorite Beatle?
I'm more like Paul, but I have a part of them all. I'm probably more like Paul publicly. Privately, I'm very George. I admire John, and I feel like Ringo, just lucky to be there most of the time.
Interesting. You've put some thought into that.
No? I just came up with that right now.
That's pretty good.
But it was interesting. John looked a little nervous. Paul was selling it. I mean, he was just, it was almost like, oh, finally, I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was, winking at the girls and waving his hair,
Sure.
and they were all screaming.
Yeah.
Ringo was just like, yep, all right, I'm going to ride this for as long as I can.
Yeah.
I love, and this always happens to famous drummers, is whenever they get older and they get introduced to, say, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or whatever, or they do shows. For example, the Beatles are doing a big special tonight. Well, Ringo and Paul doing a big special on CNN tonight. Big 50 years of the Beatles,
Right,
blah,
right.
blah, blah. And they showed some clips of Ringo and Paul performing. But Ringo doesn't get to play the drums anymore, right? He stands up there and sings a little bit. Why is it? They never let the drummer do what he was famous for.
Yeah, why is
right?
that?
I don't know.
No theory on that?
One of those instruments that just doesn't showcase well for old people.
So how
They want to
about
bring you down front. They don't want you to be back there behind a kit.
do you still like listening to Paul sing, like present day? You can be honest.
Not really.
Yeah.
No.
Isn't it kind of it's not disappointing, but it's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, the only guy I've ever heard sing that sounds just like he did when he was new on the scene and taking over the world, take one guess. It's hard to think
boy.
back to who was a sex symbol in the early 60s, late 50s.
Elvis
From England.
but,
Still around. Tom Jones.
Tom Jones.
God,
It's not unusual.
You see the concert he did for the Queen's Jubilee last year?
Oh wait, yes, the Jubilee.
Yeah, right in front of the Buckingham Palace. Just tore it up. Same voice. Mama told me not to go. He's got gray hair.
I don't know
Awkward.
that guy's human. To be honest, I mean,
Yeah, exactly.
really,
Yeah,
really. The aging, the lack of aging in the voice,
I know.
the fact that he's still a sex symbol.
He did let his hair go gray now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think he likes the undies thrown at him anymore.
They're not getting smaller.
No. There's stuff in them now.
I'd imagine. Yeah. Hey, I need that back. No, not that. Yeah, I do.
But you know what? Can I just finish that off? It's so funny we're talking about the Beatles because I am not up to speed. You know when I learned about Bruno Mars?
2 weeks ago?
Yeah, during the Super Bowl halftime show. I'm like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Do others know about him? He's doing the halftime show at the Super Bowl. I think they do.
This Bruno fella.
Right.
He's got a future.
Right. Is he new?
Yeah.
Where does he come from?
Do you still live in Seattle where you're living?
I do.
You are. So, the Super Bowl, did you care? Are you a football fan? Was it the greatest day of your life?
Oh, it was. I hosted a Super Bowl party at one of the casinos. So they had it was a free party. 800 people allowed, and then we reached capacity for the room. And they had big screens everywhere, and they had a chili dog buffet and so on. And it was, people were going crazy. And I equate the Seattle sports fan to the Minnesota sports fan. I think that we have a lot of similarity. There isn't a ton of success in our history.
No.
And I think we were ahead 30-0. Or 29-0, and still the vibe of the room was, well, I don't know. They could come back. It's Peyton Manning. We need a few more points. So even though we were way ahead, the room was on pins and needles up until about 7 minutes left in the game.
Really?
Because we don't win anything.
I suppose.
So there was this sense of doom and gloom. And then I didn't realize till later, there's probably a horrible game for the rest of the country to watch. We were electric.
Yeah. Oh, it was awful.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to people that couldn't care, just wanted to see a good game. It was not a good game. I am a huge Broncos fan.
Oh, no.
My second favorite team behind the Vikings. I've been a fan since the late 80s. So, do you know the comedian Phil Palisol?
No.
Okay. Well, he was one of my first guests here on the podcast, and he's from Colorado, comedian. He's such a big fan. He has a John Elway I think he has a number 7 tattooed on his leg. Okay, that's how big of a fan he is.
Yeah,
so
it's a pretty big fan.
I was reading his Facebook posts of disappointment, and I know, it sucked. But congratulations!
Well, my girlfriend is from Denver, and she flew up from Denver.
Oh wow!
To watch so we could watch the Super Bowl together, and she said, "I'll never do that again." And it was depressing for me too, because I would be going, "Yay, Seahawks!" And you look to the right, and there's someone depressed.
Yeah.
And the more I cheered, she was offended by my cheering, and that's not how you want it. You don't want to have a championship party worrying about someone else's feelings.
No, not at all. You throw that out the window.
Right. So I told her to leave.
You don't like it? Get out.
Right.
Go back to Denver with your loser team. Did the parade, did you have any inkling?
I was in Calgary during the parade.
Oh, then you left.
But I heard it was 7,700,000 people.
Insanity.
Yeah.
Absolutely insanity.
Well, you know what's scary about the Seahawks, though? And hats off to Pete Carroll for putting this whole thing together. The defense will stay the same, right? It's going to be good for a couple of years. The offense is only going to get better and better. Russell Wilson is still making quantum leaps in improvement from game to game. So it's not like we have a lot of downside for the next few years.
Sure, and the Vikings export Percy Harvin. If he stays healthy more than one game or a couple plays.
Right,
he's a hell of a talent.
We only need him for the Super Bowl, so we'll just save him.
Yeah, apparently the secret weapon.
Yeah,
he did have a hell of a game.
Did you see how fast he was?
Yeah, yes, because I loved watching that when he was wearing purple. So yes, I did. I remember him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do a thing where I everyone that's been on the podcast here, I set up a Google alert.
Okay,
so that I can if somebody releases a new DVD or is going to be, has some story written about them, and somewhere, then I can, give it a little publicity like on the Facebook page. So I have one set up for you, Mr. David Crow.
Okay.
And I bet you can imagine quite a few of the alerts I get under the name David Crow are for some financial expert that.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I want you to, this is not about that person.
What person?
What is he's the vice president of something, but there's tons of stories about him if you look for David Crow. In any case, read the first couple paragraphs of that one, and let me just say that I was worried about you.
Okay, I gotta dig out my glasses, which I may not.
Oh no,
I may have. No, I swear I brought them. I don't have them.
Oh, you didn't bring it. Well, I'm gonna have to read it then, since you don't have your spectacles. Okay, well, this is a story I've.
Oh, here they are.
Oh, you do have it.
All
there
right.
you go. Just the first couple paragraphs. You'll get the gist of it.
First couple paragraphs. Shall I read it out loud?
Yeah. Yep,
Are you
do.
okay? A young man who was viciously attacked in the car park of a GAA club had to undergo major surgery and has sustained permanent scarring as a result. Continue on.
Yes, sir.
Nick Foley, age 24, of St. Lawrence Park, Gary Owen, had pleaded guilty to assaulting David Crow, causing him harm at Glauchen GAA Club Road in the early hours of December 17th. Detective Garda Fergal Hanrahan told Limerick Circuit Court that the incident happened following the verbal altercation between the two men in the smoking area of the clubhouse, where a quiz night had taken place earlier. This is really... I could be involved in something like this.
Really?
I'd be at a quiz night in Limerick. He said both men had drink taken, and that Foley. That's kind of a funny way. Both men had drink taken.
I know. I've never heard that.
Taken drink, and that Foley, an unemployed mechanic, punched Mr. Crow in the face. At which time Mr. Crow claimed him. Maybe I should be reading this with an Irish accent. Judge Carol Moran was told both men, then left the smoking area and went to the car park to fight it out, where Foley punched David Crow in the face and more than a dozen times because 6 wasn't enough.
I don't see any bruising at all, David, so you must have healed well.
Wow, that's too bad. But how Irish is that? My family does go back to Ireland. The original name is McKencrow.
That's all one long word?
Yeah, McKencrow. But when they moved to England to get work, they took the Mick off, so they anglicized it, as it were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It dekeltified it.
And you said Canada is where Mom and Dad were? Your parents at some point?
My dad's from northern British Columbia.
Yeah.
Mom's from England. All 4 grandparents are British.
Ah, look at that.
So I am 100% English by blood. But somewhere before then it goes back to Ireland because Mum's name is Connolly, which is very Irish.
That's very Irish. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dan Connolly is the uncle on that side. So.
Dan Connolly.
Daniel Connolly.
Ah, Dan Connolly.
Right. Coal miners, all.
Do you when you were in town... The January 2013, headlining here at Acme. You were doing some filming.
Yes.
And another weird thing happened that week. A pipe broke downtown.
That's right. We first time the club's ever been closed due to natural disaster.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. It was the Hennepin, some Maine, they were digging something on Hennepin, and the guy running the backhoe popped the pipe.
Yeah.
And flooded all of Hennepin and much of downtown on a very freezing cold day.
Oh, yeah, first week of January.
Yeah. So people were ice skating on Hennepin. It's just like the day when Father Hennepin came to the river. And
Is it?
I guess.
Damn,
Yeah.
Almost thought you were going to break into some poem there.
Well, I know.
The history of Minnesota.
I read that on a stone thing down on the Mississippi here in Minneapolis, that Hennepin was some priest who came and converted the natives.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll believe you.
Either that or Nicolette. I can never get the two. I think Nicolette was a military guy.
As we discussed the first time you were on the podcast, you and I have something in common. Not just that moves that we learned this week. Neither of us have been on Letterman. We were both born in St. Paul.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
So I'm a St. Paul guy. Minneapolis. We're in the city proper right now. But
my theory this that I came up with is I was only in St. Paul for 2 months and I moved away.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to come back to die in St. Paul. So my life has sort of complete circle feel.
Yeah.
So I want to walk into where I was born, St. Joseph's Hospital. Mm-hmm. I want to walk in, and die there. I'm not going to tell them that. They'll just walk in and cack.
Do you guys have my first bed here?
Right. I'm going to walk into the maternity ward. This is where it all started. Clunk.
I have one of those tiny blankets.
Right.
Have you been watching the Olympics at all?
I have been. Yeah, I was a fan of that spectacle. Yeah, I feel bad for Russia in one way because I think one person tweeted a picture of 2 glasses of dirty water, and now suddenly you never saw any other tweets of dirty water, right? Just those 2. Mm-hmm. But it got repeated and repeated and dittoed and dittoed. And so, how bad was it really? And then
let's be honest, double toilets.
A picture
look
of the
like
double toilets, but only one picture of the double toilets, right?
No, there was a second one, I believe.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So okay,
what's okay? 2-1. You're right.
Maybe that's why they're so good at pairs figure skating because they do everything together. But yeah, I love that Olympics. I think it's quite amazing what it, like it or not, what it does for the host country. Mm-hmm. And for example, with the whole anti-gay thing that Putin has supported or pushed forth or what have you.
Right.
Without hosting the Olympics, they never get a situation where they feel global pressure from the rest of us to reconsider or to see other perspectives. And so countries want to host the Olympics, especially up-and-coming developing countries. They want to host it because they get to be chair to all the nations of the world, and it makes you feel like, well, we're on the top tier now as a nation, but it also opens up your nation to all those influences. So,
sure, your dirty little secrets are going to get out there because the closet door's
and you
open.
Sort of have to say, well, okay, we'll think about that. We'll take that under consideration.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. It was also when the China hosted the last the summer.
Yep.
Tons of there are bad conditions there as well, and especially they pointed out a lot of things in the economy, and how a lot of the venues that they built just for the Olympics.
Yeah.
Olympics left town abandoned, completely.
Oh, really?
Abandoned. Yes.
In China?
Yes.
Well, they've got an issue with abandoned cities. Whole cities are abandoned or not even moved into. Here's the growth in China is calculated not by sales of real estate, but by building. Not by the number of homes sold, by the number of homes built.
Oh.
So it's a little way for the government to say, look at all this growth we're having, but they don't sell the homes. They're just building them.
Well, the government has plenty of money.
Yeah. Well, who knows? I don't know whether maybe they're borrowing it or printing it, but there are whole cities that are empty. Literally cities of 60,000 homes that are empty in China.
Amazing.
And I'm some kind of authority on it, but it's something I just saw on television.
Yeah, sure. Is there an Olympic sport that you could see yourself? Was there one you would have been halfway decent
it's kind of funny. It's because I think the luge. I mean, if you're gonna, why not just go sledding for a sport and get to go to the Olympics every 4 years? You're never too old to do the luge, right? When I was little, I wanted to be a speed skater.
Have you ever done it?
I tried it. It's so hard.
Those giant blades.
Oh
have to
my
be difficult.
Yeah.
I would trip over them, I think.
And you know how in speed skating you see the guy take 4 strokes and he's down the whole straightaway, and then about 4 strokes and he's around and it looks so much fun to fly. It's a quarter-mile track.
Yeah.
When you get out there I did it in Calgary. When you get out there on your own, it took me about 100 strokes to get down the straightaway, and then I swear I was almost falling all the way around the corner. Just here's the speed skaters are whoosh, 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 and I was
amazing power.
Cat. My feet hurt. I didn't even do one lap.
The back of the blade, is it connected or is it sort of loose? Isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's one or the other. Speed skating skate, or in any case. Yeah. Well, I give you credit for even trying.
No, I wasn't allowed to try real speed skating skates because as a novice, you have to work up to that.
Oh.
You can't do those big blades.
So what did they give you?
Just normal skates.
Oh, really?
I know.
Well, then that is sad.
Yeah. But no, that'd be a good one. I never understood these guys who do the half pipe and fly around and doing flips. And
No.
silliest thing for me is skateboarding videos. You know, if I'm gonna paralyze myself doing a sport, it's not going to be, oh, how'd you paralyze yourself? I was trying to go down 6 stairs.
Yeah.
Right?
with no padding. And
Right. I wanted to be, I was in my 20s, I tried skiing Everest, right? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
that didn't work out for you. Well, too bad. At least you got to do that. But these skateboarding videos, they're all, hey, here's 4 stairs. Let's see if we can slide down the rail. Uh-oh. My neck's broken.
Yeah, there's concrete at the bottom.
Right.
That's cool. All right. Makes it more fun. My favorite of the videos where they do that in the crash, and then instead of the friend coming to help, they just laugh in the camera. It goes up and down.
It shakes.
It's awful.
Adobe Premiere now has a function where you can get rid of that shake. Yeah, you click on that track and it's shake removal.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's called warp. So it's probably for getting rid of your friend's laughter when he's filming you in the skateboard video.
I don't hope they don't take it away permanently. I kind of like it.
So how do you come up with questions for a podcast like this? What is?
Well, let's see.
Is there a goal? I was kind of thinking of what I might do for a podcast. My latest idea is called National Geographic Inquirer, and it's just totally made up stories about animals. That's all.
Okay. I don't think anybody's doing that.
I don't think so. But that's all I could come up with.
What do I do? I would say my whole idea behind this is to get people listening to get to know you better.
Okay.
And to make them want to, hopefully buy whatever you're selling, and most importantly, come down to this club and have enough interest, if they didn't already, to come down to the club and see some live comedy and spend a whole bunch of money on drink.
Right.
But no,
and
seriously,
you get 5%.
No, this whole thing started because I'm a big comedy nerd,
right?
So I think a lot of my questions are just, I'm just trying to get to know anybody who I'm sitting across from, get to know them better, and so.
Yeah, this whole thing, I've never been good about this being natural in front of a microphone.
Do you want to well, this is just the rehearsal, so.
Right. Well, I'm serious. I always have a little aspect of ta-da in my personality. Right. So I'm Ed Sullivan pre-Beatles. That was how that moment was described to me once by a guy who was alive when that moment happened. And here's how what he said was significant about the Beatles' Ed Sullivan experience or appearance, and why it changed everything. Because up until that point, just about everything on television, in fact, you might argue everything on television, had a certain ta-da perspective. It was that kind of circus ring performer performing for the viewing audience, and everything was presented like it was.
You're not going to see this anywhere else.
And perfect, and this is how it's supposed to be. Here's how we end a show, but it's all for you. It's all for you, the audience. Ta-da!
Okay, yeah.
Okay, if I beat that into the ground. When the Beatles went on Ed Sullivan, they did not perform for the audience. They performed for themselves. They looked at each other. They joked around. There was no sense of, was that good? I hope you liked it. It was just 4 guys having more fun, and the rest of us watching were sort of not allowed to be involved. Right? Mm-hmm. Very different from, I've done this for you. And there was something so infectious. I mean, this guy who told me this was John Keister, who was a TV star in Seattle. He said, I remember watching that, thinking, I want that. I want to be like that. I want some of that. Whatever those 4 are doing, that's what I want. And he felt like people all over the country had the same reaction, especially young people.
Yeah.
And that was the paradigm shift. And from that point on, when the dancing bear and the lady with the big beach ball came out and did her twirling rings on Ed Sullivan, it just looked corny.
I think so.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be like probably be like a juggler following Bill Hicks on a comedy stage. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, really? You're gonna you might cut off that guy's head? Oh, you didn't.
Hey.
We didn't know that wasn't gonna happen.
So this is what's passing for entertainment now, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious. Why you asked me that? Am I jumping around too much? I'm curious.
No, I don't know how you know if a podcast is good or not. Do you have a little meter in your mind going, this is going nowhere?
Sometimes you do.
I have that meter in my mind all day.
Yeah. We'll just shut her down right now.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just curious. Maybe it's too inside to be on a podcast talking about a podcast, but I really struggle with listening to podcasts. Mm-hmm. One, because I don't have the greatest lexicon or the best diction in the world, but I need my broadcasters to have some level of professionalism. If I start hearing "it's like" and I want to scratch my face off. And so many young podcasters have those kind of little speech impediments that are thrown in there. And I guess it goes back to my British upbringing. I need my broadcasters to be BBC trained. Or at least sound like it, right? I need them to speak better than I do. What's that about? Is it?
That's Were your parents strict?
No, I mean somewhat. Yeah, I guess, but not. There's a certain expectation.
Do you have?
We had our grammar corrected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did too.
Right.
My dad was a teacher, math teacher though.
To this day, I hear myself talk, and I think, gosh, it's not something; it's something. Mm-hmm. I say something.
How about when someone says, well, anyway, anyways? Do you have a preference?
I don't have a preference.
You don't?
Whom? I think they're interchangeable.
When someone says anyways, it drives me nuts. And then I looked it up online, and it really, I wanted proof.
Right.
I'm right. I'm right. It's anyway, not anyways. I couldn't.
I'm not so much a stickler for those kind of things, but the it's like, just throwing in after every sentence drives me insane. Mm-hmm. I can't listen to it.
Proper.
You don't have those kind of, what are they called?
Crutches?
Crutches, yeah.
There's a gentleman that played...
But you're a broadcaster, right? You were...
Yeah, that makes me sound much more professional than I am. But yes, I work at radio. I produce a morning show here in town. So
you have that voice in your head that says, "Oh, don't say that. That sounds bad on radio."
Yes, I'm aware. Sometimes things. It's you go back and hear things and think to yourself, why was I not? That came out too quickly. Now I sound like a dummy. That's not me, or maybe it is me, but I've been trying to hide that. Something you mentioned last time, and we really didn't have any time to talk about it. We were kind of wrapping things up, and I want to know if anything's still going on with this. There's a card line that you were connected with.
Oh yeah.
Is that still functioning? Is that still up and rolling? Especially with Valentine's Day this Friday. By the way, I hear the shows are sold out.
They are sold out, thanks to Valentine's Day. Yeah.
They're going to get a piece of David Crow that night.
That's right.
So that's a good thing.
To it.
Yeah.
Yes, I started a card line with a proper publisher. As Joe Namath says, life is a team game. So I with a proper publisher. So I gather the material. The cards are written by comedians from all over the country. We essentially crowdsource talent. And then we pick a few. We have 120 in publication now.
Oh my!
A rack will hold 48. So if a store holds a rack, they choose their favorite 48 from the 120 available.
So these aren't just selling on your website.
No. These are all
national.
Over. We're being test marketed at FedEx Kinko's,
which
has 2,000 stores, I think. Kroger is looking at carrying them. So some real big deals. It took us a while. If you're going to appeal to the large franchises, you have to give them options. For example, when we first published, we had 48 cards available, and a rack held 48. Robert Hawkins, you know Hawk?
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant comedian. As an example, his card that we published says, the golden rule says to love others as you love yourself. And then the inside says, but you just can't go around touching people like that. Now, I love the card. I think it's hilarious. But Kroger's is not going to, the grocery store chain is not going to have that card. So, So what we had to do was, over the course of a year, publish enough cards so that the really conservative chain stores could have just rated G cards. And then if an independent store who might want something a little edgier could have the Hawkins card in there, or what have you, right? So I think we only have 600 racks across the country at the moment, but
that's a lot. That seems like a lot.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, Cost Plus and World Markets carry it. If some of these chains pick the lineup, we'll know at the end of at the beginning of summer. If they pick the lineup, we'll have about 4,000 racks.
Holy cow!
Yeah, and it's all about teaming up with a great publisher. Compendium Inc. is the publisher. And they have a lot of different products. This card line it's only the second card line they've done, but it's certainly not the second product.
I looked over the names. A lot of people that perform at Acme yearly.
Yep.
That have been on this podcast. And
it's been something cool to be able to present to other comedians, and all they have to do is bang out some ideas on their laptop and send me an email, and we take care of the rest.
Are there any? I assume there are some that you wrote.
I have. It's very intimidating, by the way, when you collect 2,000 entries from comics around the country. Probably, I think I had about 200 comics submitting this round. Mm-hmm. So I got 2,500 jokes in.
Wow.
And they're only going to publish 12 cards out of that. So it's very intimidating for me to submit my own material. How's it going to stack up? God, am I really going to... Is this going to be my card line and I don't have any cards in because I'm not funny enough? Very intimidating. And by my own insistence, the selection process with the publisher is blind.
Okay.
So I take all the names off and I throw my jokes in, kind of pepper them in. So and I got 2 this next round. Right.
Yeah.
Right. One of them that I'm very excited about, it says... Have you ever been making love and find yourself thinking about something totally different? Like, I got to remember to buy a birthday card. Happy birthday.
Nice.
Yeah. So they like that one. And the other one, which is really different for the line. It's really not in the voice of the stand-up comedy line, but I have a 4-year-old daughter.
Right.
So she inspired me to write this line, and they just thought it was very positive. And it's little girls know something that adults have long forgotten. Anybody, and I mean anybody, can wear a crown if they want to.
Nice.
It's not just for royalty. And they just like that sentiment.
As a father of 2 daughters, I thought for sure you were going to say dress because, But the same thing. So
Kathy, you know Kathy Ladman?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she is a writing machine. Every round she sends in a couple of pages, and she always gets a card published. My favorite of the latest round, she had a card that says, I'm getting so many age spots, I think I've moved from cougar to leopard. It's brilliant.
I like that.
Yeah. And there's a comic from Minnesota, Spencer Dobson.
I don't know that.
He started here years ago.
And I've seen that name, yeah.
He submitted some, and he's got such an original voice. It's more of a long form, and I don't have his material, because I can't read you his cards. They're longer. They're more paragraph form, but they're really good. So yeah, the line is out there. It's called Frank and Funny, and it's just the goal was to make this line be the voice of the stand-up comedy community in the greeting card market, and we're getting there.
Perfect time of year to be talking about this.
I think so, yeah. We don't tend to publish cards that are holiday oriented because they're we want the rack to be green 360 days a year or relevant.
Yeah.
So we don't have Valentine's Day specific cards, but we do have cards about love.
Yeah.
And so on. Half the cards are called just for laughs. They're just funny thoughts.
Those
are
the
who
cards
has,
I like to give on no matter what the holiday. I like my whole thing for years has been to give 2 cards to people.
Yep.
Like my significant other will be the like the lovey-dovey one and then the funny one. So,
right.
Yeah.
Jackie Cation, I had been badgering her to send me some card ideas for so long, for 2 years. She never did. And finally she sent some in, and she's got a card coming out. She doesn't know it yet, but one of hers was accepted. And it's, Jackie, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
This is so Jackie. Says, I'm bored with my anxieties. Call me with yours. Or call me and we'll talk about yours. I think that's it.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah.
She is great. Hey, here's an example of things that I print out and bring along to podcasts.
Right.
Every show I usually towards the like we're in the second half of the show here for sure, and then these are what I have here, and I did actually. Fittingly enough, I did something similar to this with Jackie when she was here last. These are questions that I found that are that parents. It's suggested to pose to their kids.
Oh,
to kind of get to know them better, get some dialogue going.
Right.
All right. So I'm going to ask you some of these questions, and you're just going to answer. Not as a child, but just
as myself,
as you are now.
Right.
Okay. So we'll start with these here. Why do kids put rings in their eyebrows and nose?
Kids?
Yes. Why do people? Well, just people. Why do people do that? Why do people put rings in their eyebrows and nose? David Crow.
Something I've never been comfortable with doing. Right. I think they're trying to express something that they can't articulate with words, and so rather than read more and work on their literary skills, they just go to some dude who puts a shank in their eyebrow, and then they think, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that process done where they
No.
pierce someone's nipple?
I realize that sounds very arrogant for me to say, but that's how I've always felt like.
That's fine.
Like those are those veneers are shallow, and I've always felt like anybody could do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, that's
Right.
true. Anybody with a friend with a hook,
Yeah, exactly.
a needle.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you've never done anything outrageous to your tattoos?
I've never expressed myself even through fashion, and it's for some reason I just feel like that's this tarp that you throw on over yourself to sort of as a costume, and it's just never a way that I've expressed myself. Right?
Yeah, you used a keyword that I've
a costume.
yes,
Yeah.
that I've hung on to for years.
Yeah, I always looked at
nice costume. Now I know who you are. Good.
in college. I would see these people that looked very interesting at university with the piercings and the tattoos and the colored hair, all that kind of stuff, and I always thought they were more interesting than me, and there was just they lived on another level, and just about without exception, every time I got to know one, they were boring as hell and insecure and had nothing to say and almost lived like a chihuahua in fear of something, right? And it was a way of saying, stay away from me, don't talk to me, I'm weird.
Yeah.
But not weird because I really am weird because I don't want you to talk to me.
Yeah. I like that. Like putting a mask on, sort of.
A little bit, yeah.
If you had to have one of these, I
like paragraph answers, by the way. Go ahead.
If you had to have one of these, there are no correct answers.
Okay.
Or how to deliver them. If you had to have one of these, which would you pick and why? Really long nose hairs, hair in your ears, hair above your lip, or massively hairy armpits?
You mean if I had to have one?
Yeah. Only one. Really long nose hair, hair in your ears, hair above your lip.
Do I get to trim it or I have to leave it?
You have to leave it.
Oh, okay. It's either between the armpits or what's the other one? Lip?
Ear, hair, nose hair.
Now, anything on the face, I want manageable. So I think I'd go with the long armpit hair. But I'm a guy, right? Right.
I'm picturing a long mane where someone would actually comb it out.
You know,
Get the snarls out of there.
I find that there's body hair, and there was someone in my elementary school, and I've all my life, I've thought of her when it comes to strange, abnormally robust body hair for a woman. And her name is Alana Umberger, right?
Gorgeous.
Yeah. And she was pale, absolutely stark white, and just had this long, dark, black arm hair.
Oh yeah, it curves goes all the way around the arm. Probably.
And to me, Alana Umberger was just this person that had freakishly hairy arms. And we're talking second grade.
Sure.
Right? And I forget where I was, but recently it was another comedian, and he goes, "Oh, yeah, Alana Umberger? Yeah, because he was from Eastern Europe, Southeastern Europe, and he's Jewish." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, that's totally an Albanian Jew name." And yeah, we are white people with, and that's what he had, white skin but dark hair, kind of like the cross between Norway and Egypt.
Yeah.
You just bring and that's exactly what it is. And I thought, oh my God, and I never thought of Alana Umberger as having that Eastern European Jewish name. To me, it was always just this one girl out of nowhere who had freakishly. So it all made sense now. There's a part of the world where you can be pale white, yet have that dark, coarse Persian hair.
Coarse.
Yeah.
Yes. Ah.
So I imagine Alana Umberger just had chinchillas under her armpits. That's why I bring it up. And I think that's why I go.
Sexy.
Alana, call me with a picture. All right. Well, it'd be funny someone hears this. I know Alana Umberger.
We're bringing her here Saturday. She has Valentine's tickets here for Friday.
She was one of these girls who read at recess in elementary school, right? Which is another very Jewish thing to do, right? Read at recess, get your education.
I
always looked like, who would read at recess? There are red balls to kick.
Girls to push.
Yeah. Oh, you're one of those, are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
You didn't know what to say to them. You push them.
Push and chase.
Run away.
Yes.
Right.
David Crow, what kind of lies do your friends tell their parents?
What kind of lies do my friends tell their parents?
Yeah, that's probably a tough one.
I love you.
I'll visit soon.
Right. I don't know. I think for the most part, my friends have continuing lies they tell their parents, which are really not to tell them the truth about what they did growing up.
Yeah.
Which wasn't that bad, but the parents just don't want to know the details.
No, time has passed.
Right.
Yeah, leave it there. That's true. What was your favorite toy when you were little?
G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, G.I. Joe.
They just celebrated the 50th. 50th? Is it in the Beatles?
50th anniversary of G.I. Joe on Ed Sullivan.
Yeah, Ed Sullivan. That's right.
My dad was nervous about getting me a doll, but I saw it in the catalog and wanted a G.I. Joe. And then he saw how me and my buddy, how your best friend when you're little is not necessarily somebody that you would choose as a best friend. They're just near you, right? They're the house across the street.
Absolutely
so
correct. Yes.
And so Rick Slydom was my best friend growing up. And we both had G.I. Joes, and just every day was out in the woods making dams, burying Joe, getting him stuck in a tree, blowing, throwing rocks at him. You set him up on a pile of dirt, you chuck rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. I loved it. Build parachutes, throw them off the deck.
Mm-hmm. You're not doing that. The girls aren't doing that with Barbie.
No, my sisters had Barbies, but G.I. Joe. I lost so many of my G.I. Joes. Right? I don't know what happened to them. I grew up on a lake. I assume some of them drowned. I remember losing one. They were someone was near our house was running a bulldozer, and I would throw G.I. Joe sort of on the edge of the dirt as it sloughed off the side of the bulldozer blade.
Decapitate them or something?
Yeah, and then one day he was gone. I threw him too far into the bulldozer.
Yeah, I think so.
Never showed up.
Someone's going to dig that up someday.
And these were the real frizzy hair G.I. Joes, not the painted head G.I. Joes.
No, right. No, I'm just a little bit younger than you, and I had like the smaller ones with the
Choco sticks.
Yeah, they had a what was the big thing? They could move their arms side to side.
Right.
Yeah. And I still have some of those, but I've given them to. I let my kids play with them. They don't play with them like I did, but that's fine.
I don't have any toys left over from my youth, and I think that's common with boys because somewhere around 6th, 7th, 8th grade, all boys get into this, get access to explosives. It's when your 4th of July rolls around and you don't have to be around the parents to light your fireworks, where before that you kind of do. And as soon as you get your own Indian reservation explosives and you and your buddies get to go on your own, your toys start going through demolition phases, right? I mean, I blew up all my toys.
See, I grew up in the city, so that couldn't happen. If I would have blown something up, the cops would have showed up thinking somebody was getting shot. We
could get anything off the res.
Yeah. Oh,
M80s.
No.
Rockets that would fly a quarter mile and hope. I just love that idea.
Yeah, 12-year-olds with explosives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And we made our own pipe bombs, too.
I did watch the neighbor put one together once and blow it up in his backyard. The girl next door, 2 houses down, her dad made one in the garage. Mm-hmm. Thinking back now, that's crazy. If I knew that my neighbor right now, if I went home right now, like, hey, what are you doing there, Bill? Putting together a little bomb we're going to set up in the backyard. Just got some gunpowder. I'd be concerned. I think I'd be more concerned.
See, I think there are... I grew up with a shop. Okay, my dad had a shop.
Okay.
He was an airline pilot, but he had a shop. And it's because he grew up on a farm in northern British Columbia. And they had horses that they would use to pull the wagon. Right up there, cars are kind of impractical, especially back when he was young. So and you had to do a lot of things on your own. You couldn't just call some guy to fix things for you. You fixed it on your own. And so I grew up with a shop. My friends grew up with a shop and a cabin with a shop. My friends had a cabin, and their uncle had a shop that was at the cabin by the river, and it was locked up. And you would walk in, and he, of course, had died years ago, but this cabin was full of tools and scraps, and it was all dusty and hadn't been used in forever. And
I want to go there right now.
Yeah,
Is it still there?
It was right out of the Star Wars episode.
Yeah.
And I think if you grow up with a shop, in your access to a shop in your life, that really changes your perspective on everything else you do. I never look at something and think, oh, I can't do that. I need to hire somebody to do that for me. I always think, well, let me attack that. I think I could fix that. I think I could build that. I think I could. Of course, I while away valuable hours, doing something that some other guy could show up with the right tool and do it in a second. But it's the mentality, right? So again, got tired of the reservation going to get explosives. We should make our own explosives. So we made pipe bombs and tried to, all that. That was in the cabin. Right?
I'm looking. I haven't noticed you're not missing any fingers.
Nope.
So,
No.
Yeah. Things worked out pretty well. I'd say. We'll just do a couple more here. I remember you mentioning you like to read. You like history. Or at least
I do like history. Yeah.
Maybe not the reading part. I might be making that up, but the history. Is there anyone in history that you have read about that you would like to be?
Oh yeah, Samuel de Champlain.
Who's that?
Or Captain Cook, but Samuel de Champlain was the founder of Quebec City. He came over from France and basically settled French North America. And what was cool about Champlain is he had a very different approach to many of the explorers at the time who would come over. They would trade with the natives, but they wouldn't mix with the natives. They would sort of take what they needed from the natives, but the natives were sort of a people that needed to be pushed away, pushed out, dealt with, but not joined, not mixed with. Mm-hmm. And Champlain felt very different about it. He encouraged all of his men to marry native women, and he made treaties with the natives, and he learned how they did things and sort of adopted their way because they had lived here for thousands of years.
Right.
So he was very much way ahead of his time, and his philosophy about seeing every human on Earth as equal. Right, and he settled in 1680 maybe is when he came over. I might be a little off there. Yeah, 1670. But an amazing dude.
Why isn't the city named after him?
Quebec City?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't name places after yourself. That would be arrogant, right? Yeah.
Someone else can.
But Lake Champlain is in New York.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of Champlain stuff up there, but the other person would, of course, be Captain Cook. I just think, the balls of Jupiter on this guy. When he landed, he went around the world 3 times, and when he landed, he always made the point of getting in full dress and going ashore first alone. And here's a guy who was landing in places all over the world that had never seen white people. Of course, his Marines would be in a rowboat behind him, but they would let him off on shore, kind of paddle out away, and he would walk up the beach by himself to meet these natives. I mean, can you imagine?
That's some big balls.
Yeah, but he wanted to make sure that they knew he was not there as an enemy.
A threat.
That he was there as a threat, that he was there as a friend. But just, holy cow. And he made it all the way around the world 3 times doing that, never encountered a problem until he got to Hawaii, and those bastards killed him because they are vicious savages.
That's why we
don't let Kermit Apio fool you.
I know he was excited about that Super Bowl as well.
Yeah,
I was watching his stuff on Facebook.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you just brought that up. One of these questions that are on this thing, I actually skipped. Did I skip past it? Do you think blah blah blah? It's your favorite, but got lots. Well, it was something about what would you do if you saw a gang? What would you do if you saw what appeared to be a gang walking towards you and you're alone? And I think that's sort of like you're saying about Cook, you know, like going up to landing and going, all right, I'm here alone. How many are coming up to me?
If I was dressed like Cook with the big feather in the hat and the sword and the brass buttons up and down with the epaulets, I might just greet them.
Yeah.
But dressed like I am now, with no tattoos or shanks through my eyebrow or anything, I don't know. Is there anything to fear from gangs?
I don't know.
I don't know. Not a situation I've been in. So I don't know. Now, interesting. What if I was in another country? I spent a lot of time the last few years in Africa, and South Africa primarily. And you're warned all the time from the South African people that life. You hear this phrase, "Life is cheap there," and meaning that there's a lot of poverty there because there's been a lot of immigration from sub-Saharan Africa over the borders into South Africa since the ANC has sort of opened the border. African National Congress, Mandela's party, has opened the border. So you get an abundance of sort of illiterate, non-skilled people coming down looking for work, and there's just not enough work to go around.
They came for money. There's no money to be made.
Yep, and they're there. They're not near their families. All this kind of stuff. So there's a bit of desperation.
Sure.
And so it's not a black or white thing. If they see these people who are desperate, see somebody who appears to have money, they'll take it from you or attempt to take it from you. So. That scenario in a foreign country if you know kind of the rules, you know when and where to go, don't go jogging by yourself, go with a buddy or what have you, whatever. There's a lot of sort of things that you intuitively know when you live there.
Yeah.
It's just wise decisions to make. But as a tourist, you don't know, right? I don't know how to recognize these kind of potential scenarios. Yeah. So I would. If I was in America, I think whether it be clueless arrogance, I wouldn't feel threatened by a gang per se.
Yeah.
But in South Africa, I might feel really intimidated by that because I don't, to me, everybody is going to be a threat because of what I've been told. So I think in a foreign country, it would be a little more ominous.
Well, that's probably a good idea. Better be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Well, we should wrap it up here, but I want to ask one more thing. One of the last things you mentioned, the last podcast we did, you were writing a book. Any work on that anymore? Does that exist?
Yeah, I was. That was right before I kind of went back to the film school thing and just focused on that. So no, I haven't been writing
no more
at all. But I was in. I mean, it's still there. I have so many projects that I need to start finishing.
Well, what are you gonna be working on next?
Well, I'm going to be finishing this edit job I have, and I'm
for Bent Washburn.
I have my own CD that I'm that I recorded that I need to edit and get out there too. So there's just a bunch of nonsense like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have a 4-year-old at home, which when I'm at home now takes all my time. So all these things I have to really cram and do on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never enough time.
Never enough time. I wish I had a studio like Edison did, where you just come up with the idea and say, okay, now take care of that for me.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I did write a children's book.
Really?
Yeah.
Where are people finding it? Is
it's
it out
not
there?
published yet.
It's not
but
published yet?
I've pitched it, so we'll see. Yeah, it's a very simple premise, and it's called How Dog Created Earth.
How Dog Created Earth.
Right, and see, here the story is that God has a dog, of course, and it's the first dog, so God named it Dog.
Of course.
Right, and every day God goes to do one phase of creating Earth. The first day he makes land, and it's perfect and square, and it's flat, and it's perfect. It's land, and it's perfect. And then he goes to sleep, and his dog chews it. Right, you know how dogs...
Of course.
Of course, the gag is that his dog chews it into how land is shaped today. So the dog has like Australia in his mouth. Right?
Yeah.
There's little bits of islands and continents scattered out.
Shakes it off, and
Right,
there's an island.
God
yeah.
goes, no dog, no bad dog. Well, so then God makes mountains, and they're all perfect triangles with perfect slopes, and goes to bed. And dog gets out of his pen and chews all the mountains so they're jagged and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So by the end of the story, this dog has basically taken God's perfect creation and made it all messy, and that's why Earth looks like it looks.
I like that.
Yeah. At the end, it's great. At the end, God makes sky, and there's all these reasons why dog keeps getting out, right? The end is God makes sky, and it's this perfect blue quilt, and of course, guess what happens? Dog takes a bite of it, and some fluff comes out, and then you know how dogs are. They're like, and they go crazy and just chew the whole thing, and they're shaking it, and there's fluff everywhere. So now that's why the sky on Earth is blue with fluff.
I like it.
Yeah, that's my little... I tell every night I try to make up a story for my daughter as I put her to bed. And so sometimes the stories stick and she wants to hear them over and over. And that's when I know I have something.
Really?
Yeah.
So that came from that?
Yep.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
You'll have to put that in the front of the book, right?
And the other one is the hairbrush monster.
The hairbrush monster.
Yeah. But I won't bore you with all my little children's stories.
Right. Yeah. I like them because I'm a dad of 2 dogs.
So I'm hooking up with an illustrator who's going to... Because children's stories are a lot about the illustration.
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
So he's got to make that dog be naughty but lovable, right? He's a happy dog, tail always wagging.
I don't know if have you ever looked at the 2, I think he's done 2 now, children's books. Weird Al Yankovic.
No,
he's done 2 children's books. And I've read them to my daughters, and I always think, like, it can't be that difficult to write a children's story. I mean, the basics of it, but it's got to stand out from the rest. And I do think a lot of it has to do with the illustration.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't know who he used for his book, but it's really good. Very detailed and great cartoonish.
Anytime somebody is famous and launches a children's book, they've done the hardest part, which is to even get separation from the white noise of children or people writing children's books.
Right.
And there's a ton of white noise. So.
Yeah. You selling anything at your shows right now?
I don't have anything with me right now, but I have my packet of 14 cards and
you do?
My 3 CDs and my DVD, and then hopefully the next DVD.
Yeah. Tell people where to get that stuff since you don't have
DavidCrow.com.
DavidCrow.com. How often are you using Twitter? I know you have an account.
I just don't use Twitter. I use Facebook. I post. Is there a way I could link the two? I don't know.
Yes.
Is there?
Yeah.
I'll have to do that.
Yeah.
Then.
Except I think it's one or you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. All right. And then so you're on Facebook. The day. All right. Did we cover everything?
I think so. I'm not I'm not the kind of... I'm much more of a novel type person, as opposed do one thing that's big and share that, as opposed to constantly be shooting peas at people every day.
Right.
And I feel like that's kind of how things are done anymore in communication, but it just doesn't suit me very well. So I'm going to spiral into the abyss of obscurity because I don't tweet on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I went on a tour with Matt Kirshen. I'm not sure if you know him, maybe. And he tweeted everything. He was tweeting all day, every day, nonstop, retweeting. I just
Not you.
Not me.
No. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
David, thank you.
Much more inclined to talk to somebody after a show.
Yeah. And you'll do that.
Yeah.
Especially if they buy you a drink.
Thanks you for having me on the podcast. And
Are you still drinking scotch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Single malt scotch. Neat. 1 glass after a show.
Perfect. Well, if anybody's listening to this, he's not going to sell you anything. But if you're listening to this before you come to a show this week at Acme, single malt scotch.
Yeah.
Come up and say hi after the show.
Not too peaty.
Peaty?
Yeah, that's when the scotch tastes really smoky.
Oh, gee. I drink beer. I don't know anything
Right.
about that. David, thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.